Hi friends! Rebecca here, the Dragon Librarian from Farmington Community Library, and my pal Estaldo and I are here today to talk to you about some wonderful new books that we've recently read that we're super excited about, and we want you to be excited about them too, because I think you're going to love them as much as I did. So this very first one is called The Secrets of Love Story Bridge by Phaedra Patrick. The Secrets of Love Story Bridge. And this is a really sweet love story, but it's also what I like to call a life story because it's got a little bit of love in it, but it's also just about life and all the ups and downs and the people you meet and how important those relationships can be, and just basically loving your own life. And what this book is about a man named Mitchell who lives in England with his daughter Poppy, and his Poppy's mother has actually died a few years before. And it was an accident, but he feels responsible for it because he worked a lot, he wasn't home often, and he feels like he neglected Poppy and his wife quite often. And so he has a lot of guilt about that. So he used to work in architecture, and what he does now is he cuts the locks off of this bridge. There's this bridge where people put these little locks, they hang them there, and then make wishes on them. And his job is to cut them all off, which he is well suited for because he's very grumpy. He's not very happy with his life. Even though he does love his daughter Poppy, he still, like I said, feels very badly for neglecting them earlier on. So he's not a happy person. He goes and he upsets everybody by cutting all these locks off this bridge. Well, one day he sees a woman when he's doing his job, and she's putting a lock on the bridge, and she falls off into the river. So he jumps in to save her. Doesn't even think twice about it. Saves her. Thinks that's going to be the end of it, but then he ends up finding out that this woman that he saved, who disappears right after, has actually been missing for over a year, and her family hasn't heard from her. And he knows this because he was approached by her sister after, the event of him saving her was in the newspaper. So he has to now team up with this sister to try to track down this woman again and find out, first of all, why she disappeared, why she was on the bridge that night. So it's got a little bit of a mystery to it also. But this book, like I said, is really just a really beautiful, sweet story about people and life and family and friends and strangers, and it's absolutely fantastic. It's a really feel-good book. So if you're looking for something to lift your spirits and make you feel really great, this is absolutely a fantastic one to pick up. The Secrets of Love Story Bridge. Also, it's not that long, so you breeze through it pretty quickly. The second book I want to talk to you about is very different in theme and style. It's a little bit of a heavier book. And this is called The Lightness by Emily Temple. Now, I was first drawn to this book because of the cover, and also because the author, this is her first book, and she is actually a senior editor at this company called LitHub, which produces this really great literary content, weekly literary articles that I really like to read. So I was excited when she was coming out with a book. I didn't even know what it was about, but I wanted to read it. So after I did, I have a feeling it's going to be one of my favorite books of the year because it's absolutely fantastic. And so I would hesitate to call this book dark academia, which is a subgenre of literary fiction that usually takes place in a school and involves really close, sort of destructive relationships between friends. Because I would hesitate to call it that, but I want to call it that at the same time, because it doesn't take place at a school, but it does have that nature of these destructive, intense friendships and relationships. So this is about a young woman named Olivia whose father was following all these Buddhist practices, and he went on this retreat really, really way up in the mountains and never came back. So he abandoned her and her mother, basically. So she goes to try to follow in his footsteps and see what this place is about. And, and it's about Buddhist practices and also focusing on levitation. So she wants to try to be able to learn how to levitate. And she becomes friends with these really popular girls in this place. And they form this really super intense, tight-knit friendship. that's a little bit mutually destructive as they keep trying to learn all these different ways to try to levitate, and they try all these different methods. And it's a really fantastic book. I absolutely love it. I really, really love that subgenre of dark academia. And like I said, this doesn't take place in an actual school, but it has that same sort of feel. If you've read Donna Tartt, which I know I've talked about her a couple weeks ago, the book The Secret History, this book reminded me a lot of that, with just these friendships that form when you're young and how intense they can be. And it was just so fantastic. There's a lot of the fact that the narrator is very unreliable. So if you happen to really like stories like that, where you're not sure if you can trust what the narrator is saying, you're not sure if she's being honest with you or herself, this is another fantastic example of that, where you don't really know whether to believe her with some of the things that she's saying. She's not the best person in the world, and she does explain that throughout the story. The story starts with this notion that she talks about, that something bad has happened at this place, and you don't find out what it is until the end, but there's lots of clues and things that you can try to piece it together. So it's got a little bit of a mysterious air to it also. But this book, like I said, I think this is probably going to end up being one of my favorites of the year, because of the content, but also because the writing is just so beautiful. I would have never thought this was a debut book if I hadn't known it going in ahead of time, because this author just writes like she's a pro already, and it's just such a beautiful, interesting story. So I highly, highly, highly recommend this one, The Lightness by Emily Temple. Well, that's what we've got for you guys today. I hope that these books sound really interesting and fun. If so, they are available at the Farmington Community Library, so please feel free to put them on hold there. You can pick them up during our curbside service hours, or also come into the building and get them there as well. Thank you so much, friends, and have a wonderful rest of the day.